So when did jam makers James Robertson and Sons stop using a golly as its trademark? The answer was in 2001.
Thanks very much for into the last part of this morning's show. We're asking if there's no room for gollies in Noddy's world anymore. Big issue. Tracy-Ann, Dominic and Ray's thoughts in just a moment. Yours too on the usual number, 0207 173 5555. This is the first new Noddy adventure in 46 years. It's published later this month. It's called Noddy and the Farmyard Muddle, and it's been specially written to celebrate 60 years of Toyland's best-loved character. The new story features all your favourites, folks. Big Ears, Mr Plod, Tessie Bear and Bumpy Dog. But the Gollywogs are nowhere to be seen. Author Sophie Smallwood, she's the granddaughter of Noddy creator Enid Blyton. She says she's tried to stay true to the original tales but didn't want to stick with characters out of sync with people's tolerances today. The original books featured Gollywogs, who lived in Golly Town. Mr Golly was one of Noddy's best friends and ran Toyland's garage and looked after Noddy's amazing car. But there were also villainous Gollies who were rude to Noddy's friends and later stole his car. Noddy fans apparently feel that removing the Gollies from this latest book is unnecessary. The stories, they say, have to be measured against the historical context in which they were first written. At the time Enid Blyton was writing, Gollywogs were not considered racist in any shape or form. They also say it's not right to tamper with Blyton's work when you can still buy original copies of Helen Bannerman's book, Little Black Sambo, for example. A couple of years ago, you'll remember this, we talked about it a lot on the show, there were calls for the 1931 cartoon Tintin in the Congo to be removed from shops because of the hideous racial prejudice between its covers. Borders eventually moved their copies from the kids' department to the adult graphic novels section. Fair enough, I guess. My major gripe, though, with Noddy and the Farmyard Muddle is not so much that the Gollies have gone, but that there are now no colours of character, no characters of colour gracing its pages at all. Although I know in the TV series, I'll see it on Milkshake, there is a black character there, but not in this book. No. I'll start with you, Tracy, because I know you are something of a Noddy expert.
It's my oeuvre, yeah. Yes. I have a 3-year-old. There's a character called Dina, and she's a character of colour. She's a lovely girl, and apparently she's been taken out of the book.
Yeah, not there.
And
not in this
new one. I mean, it's odd, isn't it? I think if it causes offence, then yes, it has to be looked at. I think it has to be taken in its context. But you're turning it into kind of Richard Curtis's Notting Hill world, where there are no characters of colour in there at all. So you're sort of you know, it's an odd one. And by this context, should we be teaching Oliver Twist, you know, with Fagin in it? Should we be looking at how we teach Shylock in The Merchant of Venice, you know, Othello? These are all
I suppose the difference is here that this is a
thought of a golly as being a race. To me, they were just toys. But I suppose racism is about the perception, isn't it? It's about it's about how you interpret something that you see.
Because you've got to be honest, haven't you? Right?
Well, I mean, I grew up with these books and the original Enid Blyton books, and I didn't turn out to be a racist, far from it. And to be honest with you, I never made the connection as a child. They were just stories of mythical characters. But I wonder why there's a need to create a new book. You know, Enid Blyton isn't with us anymore. And that's it. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And I think that she wrote her books, which were classics. They were very popular, and they were of that era. And I think today there should be new books of today. And in the future, people may look at the books we write today and say, well, that wasn't so good. But, you know, we accept things for what they are. You know, you can't put right mistakes of the past, if they are mistakes at all. You just have to move on into the new future. And I don't think it's appropriate to rewrite a book with the name Enid Blyton on it if it's not actually her writing the book. And I feel very strongly about it, because I remember her books, some of the other stories she wrote. And on the back of them, there was this picture of this wonderful woman of that era, you know, in this kind of tweed suit in front of a herbaceous border with slightly greying hair. And, you know, I got very fond memories of that person, of that author. And I think perhaps she was the first author I became aware of, and I think it's a bit disrespectful, really, to write a new book with her name on it.
Dominic?
Well, I mean, hopefully at some point in the future, Matthew, if Charles Darwin is correct, we'll all evolve to be exactly the same. There'll be no black, no white, we'll all be exactly the same. But at the moment, we are all diverse and different. I agree with Ray, there was no intention at all to cause offence, but I think if offences are caused by this character, you would want to be mindful of that. But
what if you're offended by having it removed?
Well, actually, my thing would be leave them in, but change the name. Because Gollywog, there's an affiliation with that name being offensive. It's like Paki in the word, when Anton Dubek used that word, it could be just an abbreviation of Pakistani, but because it's associated with race. Yeah. So I would just say, leave the characters as the mechanic and have good ones and bad ones. Yeah. But just change their names, because I think the word wog has a bad connotation.
OK, let's throw it open to you. Goodbye, Gollies. What are we thinking, Noddy's New World? Kirsty?
First we have Jay on line 2.
Jay, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Are you going to miss them?
Well, basically what it is that I'm personally a black male from Eltham. Personally, I'm not offended by it, but my friends and circle I move with seem to be offended by this. Yeah. And it begs you to ask the question, how important is a tradition if it offends a nation of people? How important is it for you to uphold that tradition?
Do you think, I mean, as I said, my beef with it is not so much the Gollies have gone. I mean, I can see why. I think it's probably a good idea in the new book. I'm not sure about the old books. I think the old books should be left the way Enid Blyton wrote them. But if colour is such an issue, or symbols of colour are such an issue, it would have been really nice to see some black characters in the new book. Thank you, Jay. Let's have another.
Rebecca's on line 3, Matthew.
Morning, Rebecca.
Good morning.
Glad to see the back of the Gollies?
Yeah, I am glad to see the back of the Gollies.
Even Mr. Golly, Noddy's best friend? Well, after Biggies.
To be honest with you, my understanding of Gollywogs is that they were the naughty, horrible little black characters. I kind of associate them with the whole blackface, the minstrels, that kind of racist connotation of black people. I think they've got a place historically to possibly illustrate to children that there were racist images in literature.
OK.
But I don't think they've got a place in the new book at all.
OK, thank you, Rebecca. And I want to know from our audience as well whether they're happy that the old books remain unchanged, but maybe it's good to see the back of the Golly in the new one.
Well, next week is Godson. We did have a flick for the book in the break, didn't we? So what do you think?
I think taking out Mr. Golly and replacing him with a white guy called Mr. Sparks is not really the major concern. Right. I think the major concern is taking out all characters of colour. Yes. That's what I think is the concern. Because I can see taking out the Gollywog, that's a little derogatory. People, I understand why they'll take it out. Yeah. But taking out all characters of colour, people will think that's racist. Now, they can introduce new characters of colour that are not derogatory.
In a positive way.
Give them new names in a positive way. That would work. Then it would not affect people.
We end the show in a chord, which is no bad thing, makes a change. That's all we have time for today, folks. Trish is on her way. First day means I've got to say goodbye to this lot, which means Ray. Great to see you, as per usual. It really is. I can't wait, genuinely can't wait for the start of your next adventure. Northern Wilderness, BBC 2 this Sunday evening. And don't forget Ray's one-man show as well. As I said, details easily found online. Tracy-Ann and Dominic, nice one. See you back here tomorrow. Ladies and gents, the panel!